Okay, well, as I stated in the intro, we are going to start carving little coyotes, and I'll tell you all these blanks are made out of Kentucky coffee tree. That's a wood around here, and we can talk more about coffee tree wood sometime, but I'd like to show you all how I carved these. And you see there's a little line I made in there for the tail from where I drew the pattern. And if you've kind of seen the video about the foxes and all, you probably know how I sort of cut the pattern along lines to know where to draw extra lines. And so I'd say for a little work time we put into what we do, it's just the work that makes its way about into us. Oh, the time in our life. I say we've got where we've made out these little lines here, and that's where the line for the tail has come in and put it on the little coyote here. I'll tell you all a little story about how I sold a couple last year. They were from a different pattern where the tail kind of hung out and the face kind of went forward. And I decided after kind of seeing a little picture on Instagram of a certain coyote somebody did where the head was kind of turned up a little bit, decided I wanted to redo my pattern so that the head was up. And for this particular one, the tail ended up being curved in because that was really the only way I could fit the pattern into this little piece of Kentucky coffee tree wood that I had for its shape and its size. There wasn't enough wood on it to really make the tail come out like on the last one, but I'd say that this is where we've come along here. I say there comes a point where we might even work a little bit around the head, make it so it's going to make the head a little thinner than the body to come out as good as it needs to be. And so we've got a lot of knives here, and I guess I must have picked a really hard part of the wood because it's kind of being a little bit of a struggle to carve here. But I know one thing, I took some time to sharpen these knives even before we had this show or this video, and even before the intro to that matter, so they should be pretty sharp, I'd say. But sometimes harder woods don't carve like softer woods do. They might require a little more strength. I have a whole lot more strength in my hands than a lot of wood carvers do, and that's what I tell them at my shows about cypress knees and things like that. Like, I was at an autism walk last week and told some people about that little cypress knee that was a gnome that I sold. So glad it did sell. And it was kind of, I'd say, just so worth the profit, because same young girl who purchased a certain gnome from me last year came by and purchased that one from me this year. It was a little more discounted this year than it was last year, so that was a good thing. But I'd say that we might have to kind of be cautious how we purchase cypress knees, because I think with those, they can get pretty expensive, and it can be kind of hard to sell something for what it's worth when you make it out of one of those. I'd say, as for a time when I was at a show in Lancaster last year with one of my coyotes, there was a little girl who wanted the coyote so bad. Her mother didn't have any money, and but she begged her nene to buy it for her. And apparently she hadn't been acting nicely the whole time, because the nene said, "What did I tell you about asking people to do stuff for you when you're not acting nicely?" And she said, "I'll go ahead and buy it for you, but not because you're acting nice." And she said, "But don't ask me for anything else here." I was grateful to sell it to her. I said, "Honey, I appreciate your business, but I'd prefer you act nicely to your mother and your grandmother." And the grandmother said, "And to everybody." You know, it's kind of like among those things where I was just kind of grateful to get something sold. Nice of the grandmother to buy it for her, and nice of her to buy it from me. So I would also say that hope the little girl's learned her lesson by now. Probably she has. By the time she gets much older, surely she'll know a lot more. And it'll all be because somebody kind of taught her little nice things in life about how to be good to people, how to be kind and nice to people. You know, I say that little work shall kind of come, make its way. I'd say we kind of thinned out the head on this one a little bit. Think we're going to try to work on this other one too, get the same little steps done on it. Tell you about time when I first started carving. I was carving some Kentucky coffee tree wood and carving a little face head, and those days I was just learning so much about how to wear gloves and thumb guards and things like that. And one day I had a pair of gloves, not a thumb guard yet, but it was like I probably didn't understand how important it was to really be wearing a glove on the hand you're holding the wood with, not necessarily on the one you're carving with. That's the one you wear a thumb protector on, but I was kind of only wearing a glove on the hand I was carving with, thinking that was all that was necessary. But I was in the guild one day in the meeting, carving a little piece of Kentucky coffee tree, a little head to put on a cross, and that's where the guy said to me, "Jonathan," he says, "you're only wearing one glove." One thing I'd also learned before was, like, whenever I was doing that while carving a piece of walnut, not wearing any gloves, that was when I was told that especially with harder woods, you should always be wearing a glove or two. And I knew walnut was a toxic wood, so it was definitely a thing with that. And Kentucky coffee tree may not be all that toxic, but still a hard wood, so still among the things where you use your best cautions in life. And we've had a lot of really strange trees grow around here. We had plum trees and apple trees grow in my yard. I get plum wood and apple wood off of them, and sometimes make little carvings out of that. Sometimes we've even had some crab apples that I've worked with and carved little things from that. I say that all this kind of work is just really making its way down to what we are and who we are and how we make little times work in our lives all for the better. And this little time in our life, this is just little work that our hands have in ourselves. I say we've got to work our way down make it to the last penny we have, make it to the last little line we have, and decide while I'm at it I'll get rid of all these saw marks here. Sometimes saw marks get on the wood because the blade kind of burns it a little bit, so might be able to just get rid of those for now. Some of them are going to be gotten away with after we go to carving it up more, and I say that this is just little times in our lives when it's just the way we're gonna brighten days, brighten nights. Oh, I tell y'all, and we can get rid of this sooner or later, but I say that it's just kind of like the ways that little time and work goes. Oh, somebody here say this little way of life comes and goes itself now. As of the little work we do here, it's going to make its way longer here. Time to kind of put work into what we all do and make it so it's just going to be free and sweet as it can be. Never dreamed one day I'd get all this good at carving wood, but you know, anything can happen sometimes. It's just the way I work about this to kind of show times for all we have and what we're doing. And I think we got rid of the worst of things now. I think it might be time to kind of brush off a little bit. I think we got in the important parts to this part of the video, and there's other parts we're going to work on as we go the rest of the way about it, but just wanted to say that that was my little instruction for this part of the series, and hope you'll come back on to stay tuned to the rest. Thanks for watching.